Okay. We live. We're probably live now, I would say. Looks that way. Welcome back to today's stream. Today we're going to be continuing on with our backend development. I did a little bit of work this afternoon on this, but I'm probably going to delete what I had done. So let's get right into it. So this afternoon I was messing around with kind of stupid idea where what I did, I can probably just remove all of this possibly. I had basically I was adding transactions. So I didn't want to keep doing if we go to order service, I sometimes don't like to write try catch everywhere because it can just be really messy and annoying, and just had lots of kind of, I don't want to say unnecessary code. It's very necessary, but it just kind of messes up your code base sometimes. So I was trying to think of a way that I could globalize transactions. The basic idea was, so what I had done, I made an it's called errors interceptor. So what I had done is I basically intercept my requests. I then call the next function, and have we got a dist folder here? Yeah, so I log any unhandled errors. If we go back, oh, moved it. Because I'm in Git. Oh well, I wanted to go to the file, but I'm too lazy, pretty tired. Errors. Let's go to the file. Here we go. So we intercept our request. We call next.handle, so it runs the actual controller, the root, the service, whatever. Then at the end of it, it will pipe the request into here and catch any errors. So if there's no error, it will just continue. If there's no error, it will just continue and send the response. If there is an error, by showing a new observable, throwing an error. Well, anyway, I basically check if this error is an error that I've thrown. So I always throw an HTTP exception, which is a kind of standard HTTP error object. Which basically, I believe, extends error, yeah. And it has some basic properties, so we can be consistent with our errors. And if it's one of those, we just throw it. Else, if it's not an HTTP exception, we know that it's uncorked. So perhaps there was an issue in the database, or perhaps there was it could be any kind of error really, couldn't it? It could be a stack error, stack overflow error, or whatever. Usually it would be database in this context. So ignore this because this is what I added. What we were doing is we logged the error to our log file so we can check it later, or we can follow it up in our log system or whatever, and then we throw an actual HTTP exception so that the end user doesn't get a horrible stack trace sent to them. All right. And I'm currently logging the error here just so I can see it. And although I think this logger does actually output it to standard out anyway, so might be redundant. Anyway, I basically stringify the whole error because sometimes depends on what the actual error is thrown. It might have a lot of properties. So just stringify the entire error and log that out. Stringify the error.errors property. And in Postgres, that is often that has a lot of properties on it, or it might even be an array of errors. Anyway, what I was trying to do was basically allow this interceptor to figure out if there is any transactions. So if you're updating something, where are we? We don't want to be here. We want to be in orders.service.ts. So if we're updating multiple properties, we want to make sure that all of these are done or none of them are done, and that's called a transaction in SQL. It's the same in pretty much the same in MySQL and Postgres, but what we are actually saying is the database will basically capture the database, at least, it will capture an instance of the database at the time you start the transaction, and it will execute your code, your queries on that instance, and then when you call commit, it will then basically merge that, slide that back into the actual database. And so what that means is, if say we create our order, we need to make sure that as the order is created, we also create the order details. Otherwise, there'll be no items in the order. So if we create the order and we haven't got any transaction, that will be instantly saved to the database. And then let's say we're missing a property on here for some reason, and this fails. Well, we've created the order, but we haven't created any order details. So what we do, we start a transaction and we commit it at the end. Now the problem is that works fine, but if you have an error inside your transaction, you need to roll it back. You need to tell Postgres to roll it back. Now, it does have some mechanisms for detecting when something's gone wrong. I believe there's a timeout for the transaction to commit, but you just don't want that to really happen in your production database. So what you generally do is you say try. You need to start the transaction out of the try catch. Try catch error, and then you say all of this. Can I move it up? Can I move? No, I can't. So I need D P like that, and then in our catch await transaction dot roll back, and we might even say logger. We probably would want to say, I haven't got my logger injected here, but we would basically say error. and we'd log it. Log here. Oh, I got a message. All right. Oops. Sorry if that's bouncing up and down. Yeah. So we log here. All right. And then, oh, apologies. We also want that to go here. Make sure we return our data. Cool. So we make sure that if there's any errors here, we roll back the transaction here. Now, it's just a little bit, in fact, we could probably, I know we do need the ID. So we do have to keep that all together. Basically, you want to try and minimize your transactions as well. So if you've got a high number of requests coming in, you don't want to be locking up your database. So the other thing a transaction can do is, and each database does it slightly differently. I believe MySQL will lock it for reading by default. So there's other types of locking. So you can have lock for update, lock for read, and what that means is you can tell your database whether or not to allow someone else or another request to access that row. Now, for our implementation, there isn't really any need for us to do that, because of the way I've actually set it up is that the user, when they add an item to their basket, they will keep, at least for now, unless I implement any manual override, they will keep that the price of that item that it was when they add it. So some shops might basically send you a notification saying this item price has changed, whatever. That's not, I don't want to do it like that. So you basically add your items to the basket, and when you check out, it gets the data from the basket, not from the product itself. Anyway, I digress. It's not super important for us here, but let's say as we get to payments, for example, again, it won't be that important, because we're not going to be having any kind of shared values. It comes in, obviously, if you're doing any kind of financial transactional implementation. So if two users are transferring money between them, you can't allow someone to send $20 at the same time if they only have $20. You need to make sure that when your first transaction starts, it says no one else can touch this. No one else can, or you could read it, obviously, but you couldn't change anything of it. You couldn't change the value of it. So you'd make sure that your database is consistent. Anyway, that was kind of a digression. So my plan was to basically keep these as short as possible, so we're not locking up our database for too long. Get your actions committed as quick as you can. And my point was, maybe we could have this create order detail properties function. Perhaps we could have actually moved it outside, so we prepare all of our data before we start the transaction, then we start the transaction and we go from there and just do it as quick as possible. But we can't, because we need this order ID. So my overall plan, again, I've gone a little bit off topic here, was to avoid having to do this try catch. And what I wanted to do was, in my errors interceptor, check if there's any transaction ongoing. I didn't really think too far ahead, because you could have multiple transactions going, so you would actually need a kind of transaction, I don't know what you'd call it, handler or whatever. I got a transaction service here to basically map and find different handlers. So I couldn't think of any good way to do it. I was messing around with this transaction service where basically we would inject we'd have a like global transaction handler, and then we'd set the transaction here and get it. But again, because of the way Node.js works, most things work, you could actually have many transactions going, so you don't really want to do it that way. And anyway, it didn't work even with one transaction because actually not really sure, just transactions were getting rolled back. So what I'm actually going to do here, I'm going to say let's actually can I that's not what I wanted to do. Move terminal to the editor area. Split right. Move it. I want to move it over here. Close that. Close that. Make it a bit larger. Git reset. I can never remember the actual -- soft head 1. Work. Yeah, I think that did work, didn't it? Did it? Yeah, okay, cool. So if you're not familiar with what I just did, how do I explain this? So what a soft reset will do is it will check where you currently are on your local branch, and it will move you one commit back, but it will keep all of the it will remove all of the changes, but it won't delete the changes. Okay, so our changes are here, not staged, and we've gone back one commit. So these are the changes that I made in the previous commit. Let's do one more. Refresh. Hey, there we go. Okay. So these ones are actually staged. I thought they would remain staged, but they're not. I don't know why these ones weren't. Okay, so we made a lot of changes here. Cool. Oh, this is bad. You don't really want to be doing your Git like this. Errors interceptor. Cool. Okay, so where's our... Alright. So I don't want this to be staged. Let's unstage everything. Let's go through it one by one, and we will add the changes that we want. I didn't really have time to do it in a nice way. So we want that. We probably don't want this. Yes, I don't want this. So I'm going to discard this. I've just given up on this transaction service. Maybe there's a way I'll think of later. Okay, so I think, yeah, I don't want that. Discard. Base repository. I'm going to keep that even though I don't want to use it. So that was a abstract method. So I go between rules that I want to apply in my code base. What I'm trying to strictly follow here is that I want my query logic to be in my repository, and I want my business logic to be in my service, and I want my routing logic to be in my controller, because what can end up happening if you're not clear about the separation is you end up with like kind of messy code base, and you'll end up in your service. With this function, for example, we need to, let me stage it and then I'll show you. We need to implement this function on every repository that extends the base repository. And here I've just thrown a new error because I haven't done it yet. And I'm probably not going to use it, as I said. But in the baskets, for example, we basically set the type as any basket type, which means we can update any properties on the basket. and we can pass as long as it's an object with at least one property from the basket entity, we can pass it here. So we might update the status, in which case we'd pass status : basket status dot active whatever, and then our where condition. But the problem is, if you want to call this from your service, you have to construct the actual query logic in your service, and I don't want to do that, because you end up just filling your service up with like where clauses and objects, partial objects and stuff, and I'm trying to make sure that when you go to your service, you see the business logic, what it's trying to do, and you're not reading update status where blah user ID is user ID. Okay, you just read the function name, update status, and you pass your properties into it. Okay, get active items by basket. So in this, the downside of this is you end up with a lot of queries in your repo, and as your code base grows, you may find it difficult to manage that. The benefit of this is you just write one method here and you add it. It just depends where you want to write that logic. Okay, I like naming functions because it helps me. It's more when I'm trying to debug. Just again, for me, this might be different for other people. I just want to read the function name. What am I doing? What was I doing here? Not, get this where this include this and this, because I won't really know. But if I say get active items by basket ID, I'll know, that's what I was trying to do. Then if there's an issue in the query, I then come and debug this, but I know what I'm doing. And the other thing is, you can easily trace where these are used. Whereas with this, you're going to be using this all over your code base, and it basically becomes a major point of, not that there probably would be any issues with it, but you'll find it a little bit more tricky to debug. All right, so basket detail, let's add that for now. I'm going to keep it just because you never know. I'm going to add that. So this is, I got these decorators. Public, by default, all my routes are secured. I don't always do it like that, but I think I like the idea of that from a security perspective. You'll at least know it's better to have over secured something than forgotten to add authentication. So if you want to set something to public, you have to decorate it with this. My cat somewhere coming to see me. Add that. Again, I'm not really following good Git etiquette here. If you really wanted to do it properly, maybe if anyone is interested, I can do a little tutorial on how to really follow good Git etiquette. But what you would actually do is you'd probably add you wouldn't even have orders on this basket feature branch, really. Just the way I've organized this project for now. Often when you're starting, you just want to get it up and running. And if you are starting a project, it's pretty likely that you're the only one working on it. Normally you'll just get it set up, get it to a point where you can get people contributing to it. So you want to be organized though. But you'd add maybe related parts, and you probably wouldn't necessarily want all of this in there. We are going to add it now though, and then you'd commit specific areas of the code base that relate to what you're trying to do. Cool. So yeah, that's cool. That's good. This I do not want. Just checking it. Yep. Oh, shoot. Shouldn't swear. All right, transaction service. No, I don't want that. That's a terrible idea. Order detail. What did I change here? Oh, I added the transaction. Yes. So yeah, I updated a bunch of things to make sure we can pass the transaction to any functions. Cool. Cool, yeah, because now we added that dependency. Yeah. Oh yeah, so I even though this is an inherited method, I actually made it overrode it in here so that we can include the order detail. Add that. If anyone wants to know what backend developers do, this is pretty much it most of the time. Yeah, we can actually keep that because that is... no, we can't. Let's leave that out for now then. Yep, and I don't want to receive the items. Just want to receive the basket ID. Do that property. Yeah, cool. And I made a mistake. You don't need to put async on those functions. All right, so okay, now we can actually commit this. Oh, we've already added them, right? So git commit for baskets. What did we do here? We added transaction. No, we added linked order items with basket items. And now, because if we look back at our git branch or git tree, git graph, what you will see is we jump back two commits. 1, 2. Okay. And now we've got two branches here. We've got our feature baskets and we've got origin feet baskets. Feature baskets, okay? And basically these two are out of sync, okay? This is the awesome thing about Git and GitHub is as long as you don't do what we're about to do, you can always go back to your origin. Your origin's like your base, all right? So what we could actually do, we'd do like a git reset hard origin / feature / branch, and it would just take us back here. Reset, get rid of everything we've just done and put us back here, okay? But this is something normally I'll do this before I make my pull request. So some people like to squash their commits. It depends what I'm trying to do, but I usually go back and rewrite my commits, especially if I'm like 6 commits deep and I just want to like have 2 or, maybe you add an entity and you add your migration and then you get a message from the product manager and they say, actually, we need to add this or we need to do this. Then you add another property, blah, blah, and you've all of a sudden got 6 commits, but you've only really done one thing. In that case, you might jump back, have all your changes staged, add the files in one at a time, half of them first, create migration, commit, create entity, commit, implement controller, commit, whatever it might be. And then what you do is you say git push origin beat baskets, or we could try that and it should reject. Okay, so it will say we're basically out of sync. The tip of your branch is behind its remote counter. So it compares the history and it says, hang on, our last commit was fixed migrations, but on origin, their last commit was this. This commit does not exist on here. It'll actually probably compare this commit name. So it says you're out of sync. But what you do is you say force with lease is the ideal way to do it, or just force. All right, but good practice is to do this. Now, it depends on how big your company is. This doesn't really come up as a requirement too often. Force with lease will basically, if anyone has made any changes on origin, so if this tip of origin feature baskets doesn't match what is on origin as GitHub is about to go there, so GitHub will go there as you force push, and it will do one last check, make sure the commits match. If they don't match, this force with lease will reject and say, actually, I've never actually had a situation where it saved me, but I like to do it anyway, because 99% of the time I'm always extra careful and I'm making sure that my branch is separate and no one else is working on it. But yeah, if you just do force, it doesn't care. It's going to overwrite that history, so it can be very dangerous because you cannot get that back. You cannot get that back. And another good thing is what we can actually do. I'm not going to do it now, but another day. But there's a good feature on GitHub that can tell you basically, did anything change? And you really want, when it says, you want it to basically say, compare the force push and nothing was different. That's good. If you notice that you've actually force pushed and the code is different, well, just hope your manager doesn't see it. Done. And now, if we refresh this, it's gone. Now our feature baskets is up to date with origin. Okay. All right. Cool. Let's get rid of that. Don't save. I don't want to save that. I don't want to save that. I don't want to save. Let's close everything just to make sure we don't have any stale code. Save that just to make it resync. Let's go back to order stop service. We should actually have some changes in here as we kept it unstaged. Oops. Don't want that. I want to delete that and delete this and delete this. So the actual way that we need to do it is we need to inject sequelize instance. We can call it sequelize type like that, and we'll get rid of this. Don't need this anymore. Delete that. Const transaction equals await this dot sequelize instance dot transaction. Yeah, we just call it. And that should actually just be absolutely fine. Except we now call transaction.commit, transaction.rollback. And that's fine. I like to leave a little. Oh, okay. Set up my prettier to not do that. And one last thing we need to do. We need to inject our logger. If you're not sure what, I believe it's Next.js common. If you're not sure what I mean when I'm saying inject, well, leave a comment and we can go over dependency injection in another video. This.logger.error. Maybe I should make a, let's just, like that, and then throw the error. All right. Or in fact, what would actually be better is to say throw new HTTP exception is it HTTP status dot server side internal server error? So we don't really know technically what's gone on here, so we just want to send a generic error. Oh goodness. And our message is going to just be, for now, something went wrong. We'll have to come back and yeah, as I said yesterday, we might be doing some internationalization, but apparently we're not doing that. So it's the message first. It's the message first. Check that. Response status. Course description. Cool. Seems to work anyway. All right. So, do we have any errors here? Let's clear this. Yeah, I've gone to VS Code today. Gone back to VS Code. I actually have my VS. Oops. I actually have my. Normally, I just use VS Code for work. Because even though it's basically set up the same. One for Git Graph. I know you can get some plugins for NVim, but I'm just probably a hot take, but I feel like having 50 plugins is an anti-pattern for NeoVim. Like I just like it that it's simple. And I just feel like adding all those extra things just kind of loses the fun of it for me. And also, like, when your colleagues come up to you and they're trying to navigate Vim, it just kind of slows the whole process down. Is orders module a valid Nest.js module? Is it look it's for a provider? Okay. So what we need to do, orders module, I'm guessing we're not setting the logger as a provider. Just remember how I did it. Should be able to go. So I did import it into the users, but we're actually not using that currently, so we can delete that. But if we go to the users module, we should be able to see, yeah, we just set it as a provider. Let's close that, orders.module.ts, and we just set it as a provider like that. And we just set it like that. No, we don't want you. We want you. I believe. Just double check it. That's what I did before. Yeah. Nest.js common. Hey! And it looks horrible. There. It's better. Yes, this is a stupid gimmicky ASCII art, but it's cool. So I like it. And yeah, this is totally stupid as well. But I like colors. So there you have it. And now, if we go to Postman, let's test it out a bit just so you can see what we did update today. So, get users probably, yes, nothing. Nope, none of this will have anything. So, let's create an account. Test. Get users. Create some products. And we can actually just go, oops, $23.99. And I wonder what happens if we send, cool, does work. And let's just say this is a super expensive one. That's 4. Now, let's see what happens here. Something went wrong. So we are actually sending the stack, but we're only sending the stack if we're in dev. And if we go here, we should... Did I delete the console.log? Unhandled error. Type error. Cannot destruct property items of basket as it is null. Yes. Oh. Interesting. Interesting. Because there is actually no basket. So maybe we need a check that the basket exists before we send it. So that's kind of a little bug we've just found. Well, let's create an order. Yeah, let's just have those three. And there's our basket. And you can see this basket is active. Items are all active. And if we create an order, we should get this. And now if we get the baskets, we should see the status has changed. And if we get our order, we should see our order is pending. Fantastic. All right. So we've got a couple of things we need to do here. So we need to be able to delete an item from the basket. We need to be able to delete a basket. And I think that's probably what we'll do today. All right. And there was that small bug. So what's the best way to do it? And this is where things get a little bit difficult to maintain like code quality, because you could validate in the validator, but do you want to have DB calls in your validation? Maybe you do. Maybe you do. Do you want to validate in the controller before you even get to your service? Maybe not. But it is done. Do you want to validate in your service where your business logic goes? Maybe. I do like the idea of having it in the validation step. But in terms of performance, you probably can potentially, to avoid running that query 2 times, because we need to get the basket in our service anyway. So I'm thinking probably do it there. But I believe you can, with class validator, actually replace the property. So replace, or you could attach the basket as a property, but I don't really like that because it's going to mess up all my types. So I think I'm just going to do it in my service. Yeah. So we should say if not basket row. I'm going to actually move this out. Yeah, no, that's fine. See, already thought this through. Get basket items. Okay, so we can actually async this, and we can say const basket equals if not basket throw new HTTP exception Oops, sorry, my cat. Just checking on him. Cannot find basket. It's fine for now. And status dot not found. No, we don't want to send a 404. Probably want to say bad requests. Probably what we're going to do. Just double check. Bad request. Forbidden, maybe. Partial content payload. That's too many. Unprocessable entity. Yeah, bad request. 400. Build failed. Ah, because we're not returning anything. Yeah, cool. And now, hopefully, if we say create order and we do like 21, something went wrong. Cannot. Did we say that? Are we in order service? Yes, I know. I know you can't destructure the items because basket. Maybe we need to rebuild it. We need to turn the air conditioner on as well. Just rebuild it. I'm just going to get the air conditioner remote. Okay. I'm back. So, let's see. Probably not going to work, is it? Because, I don't know. Something went wrong. If, maybe I know. No, because it says hey, come on. Hey, there we go. Cannot find the basket. Thank you. Oh, I don't want that. Ugh. Okay. Cool. Let's commit those changes. Oh, it's getting a bit messy. Let's just make sure I got my... Oh, see, this is crazy. We could tidy these up, these imports as well, but... gonna get complex, and I don't think it's that difficult for now. Maybe that's another feature. What I normally try to do is keep my external imports at the bottom. Cool. So let's go. Is that all good? Anything unused here? See, like that should be at the bottom, really. Should be at the bottom. That's fine. That's another day. That's admin work. Cool. add. Looks fine. Module, yes. Cool. And let's compose down. Status, baskets, add error. We also added the transaction and error. And now when we push, we should push without any issue. Cool. Okay, next. What did I say? I completely forgot what I was gonna do. We're just gonna, yes. So this is getting a bit messy. Actually, no, it shouldn't be too messy because orders, my idea is that the only thing you can change on an order is the status to paid or cancelled. So that's quite a straightforward thing to implement. Basket.controller.ts. Basket. So there's a partial type, create basket DTO. Okay, this is interesting. Do I want to just send the list of items? I know that's what I want to do. I want to yeah, because in fact when you add an item, that's when you're going to create. So you're actually really only going to be sending one item in the create. Yes. Yes. Okay. So what we want to do, we want to say, we want to basically, when we delete an item, we're going to send it to patch. Yeah. So an update basket is going to extend this. Actually, I believe I'd done it already. Maybe. Actually, I don't know if I had. That's what I'd done. Hey, this is why we like VS Code. Oh. Oops. We could actually say basket. Oh, at least we get autocomplete. Do we? ID number, and we need a status. basket item status. Ooh. We could say, we could in fact say items. And we could say array of, we could at least say partial basket detail. It's going to give us an error. So maybe you just get rid of this. So yeah, maybe I need to update this. Or we just update items. What? Sure, what happened there? Maybe you can't have a hive. Yeah. All right. This is going to be a little bit tricky to validate. What you really need to do is say export just to be defined, or export class and then you say ID is a number. You say is number, and you say is not empty. And then you say status, which is basket. And you say it's not empty. And then you say at and you say this is actually an array of update, validate. I think you need to pass the type in. No. Listed. So do I want to fix my create basket DTO? Let's leave it because that type is fixed anyway, so we don't care too much. We don't care too much. We don't care too much about the status. We got to the end. All right. So we're probably only really going to be sending one item. Unless if a user updates 2 items, they add 2 items to the basket. Let's just send it as an array. So if the user adds 2 items to their basket, we just send 2 of those items. Are we sending the product ID? So in my create basket, we are sending the product ID. Yeah, cool. So we send the product ID. Maybe we should call that product. No, not there. Product ID. And what we can do is we basically, well, it's going to be interesting because of the way I've structured the database. So we have a couple of options really. I'm a bit tired now. We can either do it one by one to state this is inactive. That's a good point. Currently, I'm only tracking if the user so if a user adds 3 items to the basket and deletes all 3, we set it to inactive. There's no way for us to tell. There's no way for us to tell if a user added 2 and then removed 1 and bought 1. Which I think is fine. I think it's fine, but what we could have done maybe is if the user, so in the basket, we track each item individually. And then when we send it back, we reduce it and send a quantity. But again, it doesn't really fit with what I'm trying to do. So we'll keep it like this and we will count how many they're adding or deleting. Again, probably it's going to be one at a time anyway. Unless they click clear all, we might have something else for that. So, yeah. Cool. Yeah, so let's go update and we can get like ID and we can get items, is that what I called it? Update items. Oh, no. ID as oh, Oh, because we're sending a patch. Ah, we don't even need that, do we? We just need an array of items. Update items. And it should be. We want to convert this. And go back here. Hey, all right. Let's just get it done with one first, because that's the most likely use case. So we want to find basket detail. We want to find, yeah, const we want to go here. We want to say find item by basket ID and product ID. Yeah, okay, cool. So we want to receive basket ID number, product ID number. We're going to return a promise of a basket detail. And we're going to say return this dot model dot find all. It would really be find one where what? Basket ID, product ID. Yeah, so we should write it there. I don't know why that's not auto completing. Let's just get it done, then we'll look at optimization after. Find yeah, so we probably, okay, this is what I'm actually going to do. I'm actually going to say, just for now, product ID status. ID. I'm just going to get this done, then I'm going to log off and get tired. Okay. Basically, we're going to say if status active, do this, something if otherwise. Okay, let's do inactive. So basically, we want to say if there is a basket item, if basket item, then we can say basket item dot. We can actually say dot increment quantity. Fields. Quantity. By default be 1. Save. Is this an async method? It's promised though. So actually we don't need to save it. Else this dot basket detail repository. In fact, we should have a. We should say create basket detail props. We need to pass in here an array of product. Yeah, shit. We need to get the product, so we should move that product method. We'll refactor this later. Let's just get it done. Equals away this product repository find by ID products ID, and we can just say product. And what else did we need? Basket ID. Product detail box. Return this dot basket detail create create many because we're eventually maybe gonna have to do that anyway. Return this. Just return that. Else, if there is no basket item, if the state is inactive. Basically say there's definitely a better way to write this. If basket item dot, you could just say if basket item dot quantity greater than 0. No. Greater than 1. Decrement. Else if basket item 0 basket item dot status. It should be. We want to update status, so we want to say remove. And that's it. And if there's no basket item and we should run error, but we'll just do that later. Let's see what happens. So let's just make sure. So loaded. Basket. So let's duplicate this. And we're going to send a patch to baskets/1. And we are going to say. So we product ID is probably just say 1. Let's get our basket. Oh, okay. Need a user as well. Create a basket. What did I set? Oh, I thought I created a user. Create account. Create a basket. Alright, so let's add product ID 1. Basket 1, product ID 1. Status. Is it? Yeah. Ah. Did I? Christ. Set it to public. Went wrong. Do it correctly. Basket deals, basket ID error. Is it? We said a patch basket 1 status active. Basket ID 1. Get baskets. No idea. Quantity 101. Did I say? Bug time. Okay, well it works, but I set the quantity. Because when I changed that, I copied over the quantity from the product, not set it to 1 by default. Okay, well at least that works. Let's we can fix that in a minute. Inactive. Removed. 101, 2, 3, 4. We're gonna get it all the way down to 0. Let's set it to 1. ID 5. Create order. Create basket. Basket ID 3. Basket ID 3. Product ID 5. And let's say active first. Got 2. Removed 1. Operation successful. Now if we get our basket, we should see Ah. No, not sure. This dot let's see it like that for now. Okay. Let's make some notes for tomorrow. To do, we want to decide whether or not to send. So tired. Decide whether or not to set quantity to 0. And then what we can probably do, see. Well, that was horrible. That was the first time I've tried that. And probably if that's kind of amazing how many to-dos there are in Node modules. So what we could say is exclude was it? Yeah, it was. Why is that? I don't understand. To do. Oh, almost worked. Completely forgot about node modules. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for tuning in if you did. See you in the next one.